Okay, wonderful. Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's Claire Risoli, Independent Consultant, National Vice President with Arbonne. Welcome to our Monday night Risoli Nations Success Zoom. I'm going to keep this introduction really short and sweet because I am in this restaurant in Santa Barbara trying to pay my check, and they're taking forever and it's noisy here. So I'm just going to make a couple quick announcements at the top, and then I'm going to turn it over to Yusuf, who's going to tell us a little bit about himself and then jump into the training tonight. First of all, I want to congratulate everyone on an incredible month. We have two new regional vice presidents in qualification, Yasmin Khan and Lila Beth Dobbins, two new regional vice presidents about to pop out of this nation, and the Harrison soon-to-be nation. You guys, I know you will be in nation qual this month. You were just a little bit short of nation qual this last month, but I'm just so impressed with the way that you guys were all working together and gunning for it. So I just want to congratulate all of you for your hard work, for your intervals of insane courage that it took, to get this far. So I'm just going to turn it over to Yusuf. Yusuf, just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, how you came to Arbonne, and then I'm dying to hear your training about defying gravity. So I'm turning it over to you. Take it away. And don't forget to unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, Claire. Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm so happy to share this time with you. As Claire said, I'm Yusuf Sievers. I'm a district manager and independent consultant in Dallas, Texas. I'm from Detroit. I lived in Santa Fe for a couple years, and then I decided to get my master's. I decided to get my master's at SMU in Dallas. And so a little bit about my story. Before I get into that, I want to show you two pictures that might make my story a little bit easier. One of them, here, I'll share my screen. I want you to see. So the first one is part of my huge weight loss journey. I've been on the latter half of losing 100 pounds. I grew up in a household that was not very health conscious. We didn't have a lot of things to really keep our bodies in motion, and I've always really struggled with being overweight. And so this is one of my pictures that I'll share with you now. Can everybody see that? That's how I started a couple years ago. And this is what I looked like last fall in graduate school. And it really, okay, I'll take that off now. And it's really something I like to hold dear to my heart because it's a journey that I took without knowing how it's going to end up. And without knowing the ins, the outs, the ups and the downs about how something like this can take place. But I grew up in the arts. I'm a dancer, a singer, a musician, a philanthropist. I run an organization in body awareness and emotional intelligence. I teach all the time, and I am a proud man in Arbonne. And so about a year ago, I really was looking for something to take up the next half of my life. I set these goals. I was like, I'm gonna go to high school, graduate, boom, go to college, boom, graduate, check, And then after college, I hit a bump in the road because I didn't get into grad school the way I wanted to. And so I had to take life in a little different way and decide who I wanted to be. And long story short, about a year ago after getting ready to graduate from grad school, I was panicking because I came to the realization over and over again that my job and my career is often in the hands of other people, in the hands of people with cast lists, in the hands of people who are sending out tours or even waiting tables. When I was a waiter, my funds, my life are in the hands of people's generosity and the level at which they want to say, oh, I had a great evening, so that's worth $25, or that's worth $4 on an $80 tab. Like those kind of things happen all the time. And I didn't want to do that anymore. I was really, I wasn't going to have it. That's the long and the short of it. I was through with living life that way. And so I was stressing about, my student loans, about how I'm going to make a life in the arts work. When they are cutting funding for artists, they are really diminishing the value that a performer and that the art of creation has in this world and in this culture, and what it can do to a human being, and how it can provide an outlet for us to transform ourselves. That's the only way I was able to get through 100 pounds, is being able to identify who I wanted to be through my imagination. And so through all of these worries and stresses about like, what am I gonna do? My friend and sponsor, Michelle McGregor, who's also on this call, her and I went to college together, and she, texted me one day out of the blue and was like, "What you doing?" And I was like, "Girl, I'm stressing," and then I had to be honest with myself about that, and being able to accept that level of truth in my life only opened doors for the answers to then walk in. You can only choose to release that which you can acknowledge. And those kind of things sometimes can be hard to acknowledge, to say, you know what, I am stressed. I'm stressed. I don't have the answers, and it's coming my way soon, hopefully, right? Maybe. So I found out about Arbonne that way, and I jumped on a call and I listened and I fell in love. I was truly, truly blown away by the legacy of the company, the products, the not method, the mantra, the pure, safe, beneficial, you know what I mean? Like our policy and what that means for the body. And I was on about 225 on the end of my weight loss journey. My heaviest was 283 pounds. That's the picture in the blue shirt. And my only goal when I made that decision was to turn the 2 into a 1. And I remember people ask me all the time, like, what made you, make the change? And I stood on the scale. I remember the exact moment it happened. I stood on the scale. I moved the things across. It was one of those old ones where you shift the things across. And the number was 283. And I was like, there is nothing for me on the other side of this number. There was nothing for me at all. And so I made a decision to turn that 2 into a 1, no matter what it took. And I forgot about that large goal and then start to focus on the small things. And I hit it last October 1st. But before that, in June, I was really struggling with the last 35 pounds. I was like, I don't know how to get through it. And then Michelle called and I found out about the products. And I was like, great, I'll do the 30 days. And then I realized that only through being able to cleanse my body, I was able to communicate with my body. And the thing I'm going to talk about today, which is defying gravity, I understand the body to be the key into our way to defy gravity. How we take care of our bodies, what we do to our bodies, and the amount of freedom, love, and joy we provide for our beings is how we attract those higher frequency events like joy and more love. And so what I did was I jumped right in, and then I panicked. And then I got real about what I needed to do and what I needed to learn. And I've been on a beautiful journey ever since. And I'm so grateful for what this opportunity has done for me, my family, the loved ones that I touch. And when people, come back to me and say, hey, I lost 20 pounds on the 30 days, that makes any no that I will ever get worth every ounce of it. And so that's a little bit about me, a little bit about my story and how I found out about Arbonne. And so the topic is defying gravity, and how I am defying gravity in this, for the services of this, is life. What pulls you down? What weighs you into the ground? What makes you say, I can't do this anymore? That is what I'm defining as gravity for the purposes of this, just so you have that clear. So we have a unified version of what I'm talking about. And so one question I want to ask you to write down and identify for yourself, whether it be now or if you're watching the playback, and welcome to those of you who are watching the playback, thank you. One question I want you to write down is, what has been weighing you down? Identify it and be specific about it. And also, don't be afraid to write the things that you are afraid of saying. Be willing to look at the piece of paper and write down, I am afraid of X, Y, and Z. For me personally, I had to identify that I am tired. I was like, I am so tired. And that was just my reality. Outside of Arbonne, before, when I entered into grad school, which is a 3-year program, it's strenuous, it's hard, it's day in, it's demand. And by the time I hit this 3rd year, I am just exhausted, and I had to be okay with that. And there was a tiny part of me that, because of how I was raised and the lessons I was learned, you can't be tired. I had to learn to be okay with that being a piece of my truth, because the moment it dawned on me in March when I was in spring break in New York, it dawned on me that I am exhausted. That was the moment that things begin to turn around for me and things begin to become a little bit more clearer in how I can service myself. And so that's one thing I want you to identify, is what is weighing you down. Because I feel like it's really, really important. Like I said earlier, you can only release that which you can acknowledge. If you're not willing to acknowledge that you are afraid, it is hard for the conscious mind to choose to let it go. because these kind of emotions and things are programmed into our subconscious. Like the things that our body responds to, our body has already learned from environment, and also because of what we've been told and how we've been told. And so it's really important for us to be kind to ourselves and know that when you hit that wall, that A, it's okay, B, it will change, and C, like you have every ounce of power, beauty, and ability to get over anything. Like it is able to happen. I didn't know how I would lose 100 pounds, but I knew I could do it. Why? Because I said it. Not because I lived in a house where I had witnessed it happen, not because I lived in a fitness heavy, we do regimens, we plan this, we do meal plans, like I was not in that house. And I had to give myself permission to say, okay, great, beginner's mindset. How do I tackle this thing? And I think the same thing can be applied when gravity hits. When life comes at you and you land flat on your face, what can you do to say, okay, great, I am down. I'm down right now. How do I get back up? You know what I mean? And being able to acknowledge the other half of that, but also just be kind to yourself. That's the one thing I do want to make sure that everybody understands, is that kindness and love and joy is the way to move mountains. And anger and competition and shame and guilt and fear, all of those kind of things breed more matter and less energy. They are of a slower frequency, and so they weigh us down. But higher elevated emotions like love and more love can release us from those weighty things. There's a book I'm reading that I suggest everybody get. It's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. I bought this book and it has completely changed everything for the better, but in a way that I cannot deny what it has done to change my life. And I also feel it's important to acknowledge that we are in a culture that works top down. You know what I mean? We study, we read, everything is top down. You do it, your mind's top down, top down. But we are really human beings that work from the body up. Like we have memorized our lives from the bottom up. And so once you understand that, then you can understand that when those things start to happen in your body, that is your body telling you, hey, I need some attention here. And so when you take those things apart, you're able to, the conscious mind, once you remove it from the subconscious mind, I'm about to get deep on y'all. Once you remove it from the subconscious mind, your conscious mind is then able to take it apart and make a decision about it, make an absolute decision about it. And so one tool that I want to offer for everybody, it's a do-it-yourself. One thing I want to offer is stream of conscious writing. And that is something that can be very, very terrifying and so illuminating at the same time. And I mean, taking a document on Word and putting your fingers on the keyboard or a pen to paper and not picking it up for maybe 4 minutes. Challenge yourself to sit at that paper. And even if you write, I don't know, I can't, until something else happens. Those are the things that I have found to be useful to release some of those things that I never thought I would consciously say. I would never thought I would consciously identify a lot of my fears or consciously identify what I have done to create the reality that I live in. And that's something that takes a level of responsibility and a level of ownership that can only bring release. And so with that in mind, it allows you to free yourself from that. And so stream of conscious writing, that's something that I do. I really try it and see what happens. Like name the book. The book is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself by Dr. Joe Dispenza, Dispenza. And in this book, he talks about 95% of our mind being subconscious. And so when you understand that, you realize that 95% of our lives are habitual. The way you drink your coffee, the way you sit in a chair, the way you hold a pen, the way you put your glasses on, all of those things are habitual. And so in order to create a different reality, we have to be able to look at those things, the people you hang around, the language you speak, what kind of energy are you sending out and then receiving? That's how the law of attraction works. And sometimes I like to challenge myself when I'm feeling a little wonky or I'm feeling like a little uneasy or out of line. I like to challenge myself to see how long I can stay quiet until somebody asks me something. See how long, and this is just for personal care. You know what I mean? If you have your time to go out and do your asks and do your things, do that. But you also have to understand that like our bodies are what we are moving through this world with. And when you take care of your body, you are able to move through this world in a more impactful way. And that's something that builds a foundation that nations sit upon. You understand? And so we have to be kind to ourselves and know that when we release those things, like the things you write in the stream of conscious and the things you identify of what's been weighing you down, you then are able to make a decision. And so through 95% of our lives being subconscious, we have to understand that like some of the habitual people you like to chat with may not necessarily serve the purpose that you are trying to pursue. And that also may mean like not talking to your favorite person for a little while, and not saying that it will be the right answer, but see what happens. You know what I mean? See what happens when you challenge yourself to be outside of your comfort zone before you plan it. Just go into the thing and say, great. For me, I committed myself when I gave up soda. I was like, great, I'm giving up soda. You know what I mean? And I challenged myself and see what would happen from that. And then note the difference. Take documentation of what the difference in your thought process and your body is. Because that through that level of response and that level of analyzing, you can understand the difference because the conscious mind is able to see it. And so I hope some of this is resonating with you all. I see some of the comments that it is, but I really understand these things to be beneficial to me. And so I want to make sure that I am passing this on because this is not about me. You know what I mean? Like it's really not about me, but it's about what we as a community and as a nation and as a brand are doing for this frontier of health and wellness. That's what we are doing. You know what I mean? As a boy who always grew up fat, and was told I was going to either be fat and strong or be fat and weak. Like that's the kind of mindset that we are shifting in this world. And that's something that once the body learns, it is hard to unmemorize. You know, and so we have to be kind to ourselves and massage who we want to be into existence through love, not through anger, not through jealousy, not through comparison, not through shame. Any of those things, they are so heavy and so potent. You know, we want to elevate ourselves into a level where pure joy, where boundlessness, limit, all of those things are in our present reality. That's what we want to attract. That's what I want to attract. I can't speak for all of you, but I hope being on this call that might be something that you could consider taking on. Something that might speak to you and something that might resonate with you. And so a couple things, I'm going to just list them in a row about a couple things I want you to be mindful of as we defy gravity. And I'm just going to read them back to back and feel free to write them down or listen to the playback and do the same. Be mindful of your emotional addictions. Be mindful of your emotional addictions. And that's not something that you are always consciously aware of. I know for me, my body is addicted to grief. It's addicted to it. Like my body loves to cry. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm such a good actor is because like they throw me on stage and they're like, great, now I cried to the gods for 2.5 minutes. And I'm like, awesome, you know, and that just comes out of me that way. But my body's addicted to that because of how I move through the world. Because I'm speaking from my heart, I grew up in the closet for most of my life. Like I was not willing to be truthful about that piece of myself because that's how I retained control. In my world, like when I was growing up, because everything was so out of my control in the external, I was like, great, I'm gonna hold on to this and y'all not gonna find out till I get ready. But that kind of practice of active self-grief, of denying who I am, my body begins to memorize. And then, here's the tricky part, my body will use the subconscious mind to create these narratives that then employ the emotion that the body likes to feel. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, my body's addicted to high stress. So as soon as there is a hint of me being late somewhere, my body goes into, you know what I mean? Knowing good and well, I'm going to get there when I get there. You know what I mean? Like if I'm in a car and we're in traffic, like there's no amount of worrying is going to get me to the destination any sooner. And so, but that's something that our culture and our bodies have memorized, and the people that are the 1% and the people that do benefit from our dysfunction do not give us the tools to surpass those things. And so be mindful of your emotional addictions. Be mindful of feelings of unworthiness, anger, fear, shame, self-doubt, and guilt created from past experiences. You know what I mean? Understand that any moment that is behind you will not serve you now. How you handle things right now is how you handle things right now. If someone comes up to you and says, hey, I've been meaning to do this. I've been looking for this, you know, some way to lose some weight. Like, that's how you handle it now, not how you talk to the last person. You know what I mean? Be able to drop yourself and to say, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, and find a way to enjoy that. For me, I practice music. That's why I play guitar. That's why I do all these things, because I can forget about where I was, where I'm going, and find a way to practice being in this room. And that happens outside of Arbonne. That's something that you have to take on and personalize for yourself that can serve you in Arbonne. You understand? You know what I mean? Like, when I go to a ballet class, I go because it kicks my butt every time. It throws me off balance. It puts me in a place of weakness. And then I have to begin again with the beginner's mind. But that skill serves me in this business. Who would have thought? You know what I mean? Like, who would have thought? And I couldn't plan it that way. But once you open your mind, you begin to see those opportunities and say, oh, maybe if I take let's say a pottery class and practice making things that way, I might be all right with things not looking the way I thought it might be. And being able to discover beauty in how things will unfold, you know? Be mindful of what mode you are in, whether it be in survival or whether it be in creation. Are you in survival mode or are you in creation mode? Are you creating something for the future, or are you surviving and running from things that you are afraid of? No judgment in either direction, but it's something you want to be mindful of. And if you are, try to take it apart. Try to take it apart so you can acknowledge what piece of it does not serve you. And then working from a state of loss. Be mindful about working from a state of loss. One story about close day that has never happened to me before. I told myself, I was like, great, okay, cool. What can I do to make close day an event, right? You know, because everybody's like, oh, close day, close day, close day. But my body doesn't know what that means yet. My body knows what an opening night means. My body knows what a good song means. My body knows what good food means. But it has not yet learned how important close day is. And that's not something I'm like, bad me. They say close day is important, but it's something that I know I can take apart. And so I begin to tell myself, okay, I have to treat this like an event before it's an event. I have to imagine a potential reality in which a day like this, at the end of every month, I am excited. I am rejuvenated. I am, you know, in creation mode, looking for people that want to create with me. And in that same breath in a day, I found another person who I had sent a package to earlier that week who was looking to do the 30 days and made an order that day. And then, because I was so in tune with love, the first of the month, another client of mine who lives in Oregon was like, hey, I'm ready to do the 30 days again. And I was like, boom. And those are two clients in two different states that I didn't have to move my dining room table for them to come into my life. And that's the power that we have. That is the agency that we can provide other people. And those are people that I haven't seen in years. One of them just left Dallas because she had a new job and they're moving over to a new place. And the other one I hadn't seen since 2010. You know, and that amount of transgression of time and space is mind-blowing, you know? So one more thing, and I know I'm giving everybody a lot of stuff, but I want this to be really useful, and that's why I'm glad we're recording it and stuff like that. Make sure, two categories I want to talk about: how we appear and who we really are, which can really, really, really help when it comes to defying gravity. Identifying what is the difference. For me, I had to identify that I was tired. My brain does not like that. My ego does not like that. And so how do I take that apart to say, no, it is okay that I'm exhausted. You know what I mean? I have been working. I just lost 100 pounds. You know what I mean? Like, all of those kind of things are so, so important to identify for yourself. No one else has to agree with you. No one else has to say amen. No one else has to say, maybe you should, you know, but like being able to celebrate those things first and acknowledge to say, you know what? I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm sleepy. You know what I mean? I need a glass of water. And then once you identify why, you can make a choice to move forward. And so identify how we appear, the identity I project to the outer environment, who I want you to think I am, the facade, the ideal world, and then who we really are, how I feel, who I really am, how I am on the inside, and the ideal for self. And this is what I tapped into on close day, because I jumped in and said, you know what? I feel awesome. I feel great. Who I really am is somebody with solutions, doggone it. And also how I am on the outside is somebody who's available to provide these solutions. And my ideal is ENVP, baby. And that's something that once I begin to experience, people start to walk into my life. And that's not something me going like, I'm hunter mentality. Like, no, our vibrations will attract the things that we need in order to move us forward. And so being able to identify those things and absolutely be mindful of judgment and what that sounds like to you and whose voice do you hear? Here's a tricky one. Here's whose voice do you hear when that judgment begins? Is it your voice or is it someone else that you've memorized it? No, I couldn't go easy on you, Bobby. No, I could not. You bring me in the house, I'm gonna bring it down. You understand? But whose voice do you hear when those things begin to appear? And assign it to them. Don't claim it to be yours. Give yourself permission to be the awareness behind the feeling. Just write that for yourself in a journal every day. You know what I mean? I give myself permission to be the awareness behind what I am feeling and not make an identity out of the emotions that our body becomes addicted to. Okay. I know we like to keep it to 30 minutes, Claire, so I'm gonna shut my mouth and unmute you. I don't know where you are. Can you unmute yourself, Claire? Are you there?
I am here. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to listen to the playback. You are like on a roll. I'm so proud of you, Yusuf. I'm so inspired by you. You move the room. You move people. You have got this, baby. I'm so proud of you. I'm so grateful that you volunteered to do this. So many of us can learn from all of this. And I've just watched your transformation. I'm just so inspired. I'm so proud of you. And I cannot wait to see you at GTC. And I cannot wait to see what you're going to do next. I know that people are really fired up from this call. I have to listen to the play. There was a lot in there.
I know.
That was great. That was great. You really gave us our money's worth. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much. I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments. I apologize for the background noise when I first joined. I feel like I didn't make a bigger deal out of our new regional vice presidents in qualification and the Harrison Nation going for nation. Once again, we're just about there, but I hope you guys are all inspired by all the momentum and by all the evidence that you see going on all around us, not just on our team, but in Arbonne in general. And thank you. Thank you so much, Yusuf. I don't know if anyone wants to say anything.
No, thank you. Yeah, anybody? Can I mute yourself? I heard somebody.
I'll say something. Am I a sideline?
Yeah.
I'm a sideline sister.
Hi, Joy.
Hi. I really wanted to be on this call and hear what you had to say, Yusuf, and I am beyond thankful that I was just live like this. I don't have the words. You do. So
no.
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Thanks, everyone. Michelle, fabulous. Michelle, you must have a lot of love in your life and in you to have attracted Yusuf. So there you go.
It's so true. You guys are on a roll. There's just so much love going on. I love it. Thank you, Joyce, for hopping on and for adding energy to our virtual house. Anyone else?
Wait, say it again.
Oops.
Go ahead.
What's that?
I'm lucky because I get to live with this guy.
All right, you guys. I'm going to wrap up the call because I just know it is 6:32 and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. But Yusuf, thank you so much for pouring into us. You guys, an amazing April is right here. I mean, March was incredible, but April is the month. GTC's coming up, and I can't wait to see a lot of you there and meet a bunch of new people there. So I will see you guys next week. I can't remember who's on next week. I think it's Maddie. I think it's Maddie Fuentes. We have another speaker next week. So thank you guys. Keep the volunteering coming in. Anyone who wants to volunteer to be a trainer, flex your muscle, stretch, grow. This is a really safe place to do it. And you all have so much value to add to all of us. It doesn't matter what your title is. We all have something to learn from each other. I learn from new people all the time. So don't get hung up on your title if that's what's holding you back. If you feel the tug, please reach out to me and volunteer and just be on one of these calls and share something with us. All right.
And I want to say thank you to you, Claire, for being willing to provide this opportunity, because it's only through things like this that a person like me, who has a long journey to nation, even has a glimpse of an idea of what it is like to speak these things to a group of people for their benefit. Only through these kind of opportunities can I even fathom what that might be and even attract it closer to me. And so I thank you for that so, so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful night. I'm so in love with you all. Thank you. Take care. Good night, guys.